2017 Ram RaceMe Ultra install. First you got to find your penetration point where you're going to bring the cable through. If you look back down through here, there's an access panel for probably ambulance use. There's two bolts that you see on the inside of the firewall. We unbolted those. That access panel slides through, and I drilled it, put a grommet in, and then ran my access wire down and around. The connector for that, to give you a bird's eye, is right on the back side of this wiring harness. This is Cummins with the ASIN, so I'm going to take that dummy plug out and plug the RaceMe Ultra right in. In the cabin, you plug in the OBD. I've hidden all of the main section controller of the RaceMe Ultra behind the knee kick plate. And up here is that access panel with the two bolts to run the wire right through. Make sure that you haven't removed a thing before you go through the programming process. Have the keys with you, and you have to have a full charge. As you can see, don't be afraid to do this with a brand new vehicle. This takes about 7-8 minutes. I always just kind of stand by just to make sure if you need to cycle on and off, you're readily available. It's going to go through and disable all sorts of different components. Once you hit 100%, it's pretty simple. Just follow the directions. One last on. We're ready to use. If you take a look, the DPF gauge is now empty because it's been disabled. Now we have to do some of the emissions. The throttle valve connector is right here on the driver's side. It's on the back side. So if you have to take your cell phone out, take a picture so you could look at the connector. But here's the connector disabled. You have to slide a little pin out in order to get the connector off the back side down below. And then I just zip tie it up top here so it's out of the way. Then you want to unplug the EGR servo. Pretty easy. Slide it out, pull it off, and then I usually zip tie this right here, and then put a piece of tape to cover everything so it stays clean. The EGR motor actuator. This is just 4 screws. Be patient or use a magnetic head. What we're going to want to do is we're going to want to take off or take out the plunger so that it can't actuate, and then put it all back together. Here you just pull it out. Make sure you got the plate, and we're just going to put it back together. Alright, just to recap, the EGR motor actuator, we pulled the plunger out, put it back in, the throttle valve assembly right here. We basically just disconnected that. Make sure that you leave this connected. And then finally, the EGR cooler servo is disconnected. And I took the time to take electrical tape and seal it off on both ends. Never hurts just to keep things out in case you need to put this all back together and take it back to the dealer. Now comes the fun part. Here at the very front of the exhaust, you've got 3 bolts. This is attached to a flex pipe. From here forward, you're just going to leave everything, unless of course you're doing a full turbo back exhaust. I am not, while I'm still under factory warranty. I'm just pulling this back to the factory pipe. As you move along, you'll notice 2 hangers attached directly to the frame rail. This part has to come out last due to this last part. As you move down, you've got 4 bolts and then a myriad of electrical connectors for all the sensors and systems. I'm going to go through and start to disconnect all of these, and then I'm going to do a final video of what it all looks like disconnected and how many there are, because there are quite a few of them going back. Starting at the rear axle, I've got the air suspension. Yours might obviously be different. Moving up, at the last connection to the factory tailpipe, which is right here, you've got 3. 1 unclips right from the frame rail. 2, 3, the 2 sensors. I've done this twice. This time I actually just removed the sensors from the pipe, left this mess in, which is a little bit easier. Moving forward, 1 more connector, so that's 4. Moving forward, 5, which connects right here on the frame rail. 6 also connects right here on the frame rail. 7, the injector. 8, this is just a pinch and you pull it off. This is for the exhaust fluid. 9 and 10, you disconnect these rubber hoses and we're going to link them together, and then we're going to remove these 2 nuts and we're going to zip tie this to the frame. We're going to leave this connected onto the system, and then that's it. We've got them all. Now, an absolute must, a bottle of soapy water. Go ahead and absolutely soak the living daylights. Out of the exhaust hangers. I got performance problems here. I need some more soap. But we're going to get the back. The back 2. These totally have to come off. And then this one and this one for the rear pipe. Before we can continue, I've got the top bolts or nuts off, and I got the bottom ones on just for safety. They're finger tight so that this isn't going to come off. I've got the rear hangers pulled. If you look up there, that one, those 2 are, and now the pipe is pretty well loose. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bench press the pipe and then let the pipe flex down so that I can slide this back to get off of the posts up front. All the hangers off, so now it's completely loose. Just going to kind of lift up and pull back. Until that slips out. This is going to hang carefully. And now I'm going to take off the 2 front bolts and slide this out. It's about 60-75 pounds. Now for the DPF, I've got these connected already. And I did connect this, but I will have to put this back on. But I'm going to take this out before I remove this sensor assembly. So now all we have to do is pull the hanger here, and then the 2 hangers on the other side attach the frame rails. They're just going to slide right out. So again, your best friend, soap, and let's pull this out. Okay, now we're going to connect that back into the truck, and the rest of this, well, we ain't having it on the truck anymore, are we? Interested, the straight pipe was pretty cool, but for long trips the drone was pretty annoying. I did get a hush power from Flowmaster. I custom welded some hangers, just used some coat hangers. I cut them off, mocked them up, and then had them welded up so everything just slips right on. So if I need to put that monstrosity back together, just like I had to for some warranty work, it just slips all together. I connected the hoses together just so they're out of the way, and then I reconnected this sensor. And after tying up all these loose wires, I'm ready to install the straight pipe or your exhaust system.